Hello there. Hey, my name is Chris Adams, president of Smatec. I wanted to kind of shoot this quick video and talk about kind of a vulnerability, kind of some unsafe practices that we've been seeing going on with a few of our customers that we've just recently onboarded them. And it has to do with remote workers and what they use in remote desktop and how they're accessing, programs and files inside organizations. Here's the deal. Remote Desktop Protocol, RDP, is a pretty fantastic tool. However, if it's not configured right, it creates some very dangerous, unsafe security problems inside your organization. Because what happens is, they use or can use really simple port forwarding. And basically what that means is it takes the computer, right? Not to get technical, I get it, but it's important to understand if you're using port forwarding with remote desktop, you have a problem. And basically what it does is when you use port forwarding, it's basically poking a hole through your firewall and allowing access from the internet directly into your network. So criminals, hackers, cyber pirates, whatever you want to call them, nefarious people can use programs to go out and port scan your firewall and see that those ports are opened. They will then see what the protocol for the port is, and they can actually run exploits, brute force, or whatever it is to get access to your computer. Now, if you don't have a good password policy for usernames and passwords on your computers, you can imagine the craziness that could come into whatever nefarious things they're trying to do, whether it's ransomware, CryptoLocker, any sort of malware, whatever it is. So RDP remote desktop is good, but it has to be configured right. So I'm going to go over 4 things that you need to be using for your remote desktop, for your remote users to make sure that they are safe. Okay. Number 1 is remote desktop needs to be used over a VPN. This is probably the most common, but it does require, quote unquote, a VPN server. For all intents and purposes, most firewalls, enterprise class firewalls, or even some small business firewalls have a built-in VPN server. All right, so that's number 1. So if you're using remote desktop on top of a VPN, that's a pretty good safeguard. Number 2 is that if you have a server with the proper licensing, you could use a remote desktop gateway. That takes a little bit more work to get that configured, but that is obviously a good practice. Number 3 is a lot of virtualization is been used for programs called like VMware and Citrix, right? So if you got a VMware server, you got a Citrix server. Those are kind of virtualizations allowing people to come in who are working remotely and get into corporate infrastructure. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4 is probably pretty common speak in remote desktop applications. Those are things like TeamViewer is a really popular one. LogMeIn is popular. What's the other one I'm missing? Hold on, I got it here in my notes. Go to my PC, and Chrome actually has an extension that's actually pretty good. So those are remote desktop applications, right? So remote desktop naked, not configured correctly, is very dangerous for your organization. So this is kind of like a public service announcement. If you're using RDP, you need to be asking a few follow-up questions. Are we using RDP gateway? Are we using VPN? How is a VPN configured? If you're using virtualization, that still needs to be configured right, because all of these applications or these processes all have their own vulnerabilities, right? They have to be configured right. So anyway, so that's what I got. Remote desktop configured correctly is what you need to be asking, because we just took a customer on board. They had 6 computers that were directly have access to the outside world, to the internet, And when we put our firewall in place, we saw that those connections were being exploited by people out in foreign countries. And that becomes really, really dangerous. So anyway, that's what I got. Chris Adams, until next time on our Symantec Tech Tips, we'll talk to you later. Thanks.